Hi, I am Kristen Ritter, and I play Natasha in Nightbooks, a movie all about scary stories.
Did you say scary stories?
That's exactly what I said, Natasha. Nightbooks is a fun and terrifying mashup of the fairy tales that kids love, but there are also a lot of details that only adults will notice.
Do try to keep your eyes open. I would hate to have to start over.
One of Alex's favorite movies, and mine too, is the classic 1987 horror comedy, The Lost Boys. One of my favorite movies ever. And he likes it so much that he lets it lure him into the supernatural apartment. So The Lost Boys follows brothers Michael and Sam Emerson, who get involved with a crew of teenage vampires living in their California beach town. And Michael unwittingly becomes a half vampire. So Sam teams up with another pair of brothers, Edgar and Alan Frog, the Frog Brothers, to try and defeat the Bloodsuckers before they can turn Michael into full-on creature of the night. The use of the Lost Boys in Nightbooks is no coincidence, because there are similarities between the two films woven into Nightbooks. Alex is a kid who discovers a secret horror plot happening right under his nose. And he knows everything about horror, just like the vampire hunting Frog Brothers. Can I also say that The Lost Boys is a film that has an iconic, epic soundtrack. And we may or may not have a song from The Lost Boys in the movie. I wear some truly over-the-top, fantastic costumes in Nightbooks, including gloves with these razor-sharp fingernails, while kids watching the movie might not know who else preys on children with these clawed hands. Parents definitely do. Freddy Krueger, we all know, is the villain from Nightmare on Elm Street. So Freddy, as played by Robert Englund, is a malevolent spirit of a serial killer, one who enters the dreams of children and teenagers and brutally murders them. And his signature weapon is a leather glove with these steel blades. Natasha's gloves aren't exactly like Freddy's, of course. They're not like crazy steel blades, but among so many references to 80s horror and those movies that we love, you can't help but notice the similarity. Natasha's hairless, invisible cat is pretty antagonistic at the start of the movie. Eventually, she becomes a critical part of Alex and Yasmin's escape. So even if you didn't predict that change in loyalty, you might have picked up the meaning behind the cat's name.
And the Grim Reaper dog laughs at the carnage.
The Grim Reaper doesn't have a pet. Isn't that right, Lenore?
The name Lenore comes straight from Edgar Allan Poe's famous poem, The Raven. The protagonist is grieving the loss of his beloved Lenore, and there's no direct connection between Poe's Lenore and Lenore the cat, but it's a nice nod to the godfather of horror. When Alex tells stories from his Nightbooks, they play out in a visual style that's very different from the rest of the movie. It's very creative and artistic and has a very heightened stylistic aesthetic that I love so much.
Give me a minute to get settled, honestly.
The stories have a dreamlike feel with jerky, grainy images, and it's meant to look like the celluloid film of an old silent movie. These sequences are tributes to German Expressionism, an artistic movement that flourished in between World War I and World War II. Film fans might also notice the clever use of moody shadows and fog on unnatural sets that reminds us of classic horror films like The Night of the Hunter. Nightbooks is produced by Sam Raimi, one of the all-time great horror directors. Sure, Raimi is also super popular for directing the original Spider-Man trilogy, but he made a big name for himself with the Evil Dead franchise. The films follow the misadventures of Ash Williams after he and his friends accidentally unleash an ancient demon at a secluded cabin. These are the kinds of 80s horror movies that Alex loves. However, Raimi has done more horror than just Evil Dead. When Alex and Yasmin battle the witch, the scene might remind adults of Sam Raimi's horror comedy cult favorite, Drag Me to Hell. Both films have moments that are tense and funny and gross at the same time.
Sorry.
Thank you for joining me, and be sure to watch Nightbooks now on Netflix.